He walked out of prison after 10 years, determined to leave his violent past behind. But when he found gang members beating his elderly mother for protection money, something inside him snapped. What they didn't know, the broken old man they just threatened used to be the most feared mafia boss in the city. The iron gates groaned open, and Leon Moretti stepped into the sunlight for the first time in 10 years.
No cameras. No reporters.
No family waiting with open arms. Just silence. He wore the same cheap jacket the prison had given him, his dark hair streaked with gray now, his face carved with lines that hadn't been there before. At 42, Leon looked like a man who'd aged 20 years behind bars. But his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, remained sharp as broken glass. A guard nodded at him from the gate. "Don't come back, Moretti." Leon didn't respond. He never wasted words. The bus ride into the city felt surreal. Everything had changed. New buildings. Digital billboards. People glued to phones he didn't recognize. The world had moved on without him, spinning faster, leaving him behind like yesterday's trash. But one thing hadn't changed: his mother. He'd promised himself that the first face he'd see on the outside would be hers. Not his old crew. Not his former associates. Just Mama Rosa, the woman who'd visited him every month without fail, her hands growing more wrinkled with each visit, her smile never fading. The bus dropped him at the old district, where cracked sidewalks and faded storefronts told stories of better days. Leon's chest tightened as familiar streets unfolded before him. There, the bakery where he'd stolen his first loaf of bread as a starving kid. There, the alley where he'd beaten 3 grown men at age 16 to protect his sister. And there, at the corner of Maple and Fifth, was his mother's store. Rosa's Corner Market. The sign was older now, paint peeling, but it still stood. Leon's pace quickened. His heart, that cold, dead thing that had stopped feeling years ago, suddenly hammered against his ribs. Then he heard it. Laughter. Cruel, mocking laughter. Leon stopped dead in his tracks. For young men, barely in their 20s, surrounded the store's entrance. Baggy clothes, tattoos crawling up their necks, gold chains catching the afternoon sun. One of them kicked over a crate of oranges, sending fruit rolling across the sidewalk. "Come on, Grandma," the tallest one sneered. "You're 3 weeks late. Mr. Victor doesn't like waiting." Leon's blood turned to ice. His mother, his tiny, 70-year-old mother, stood in the doorway, clutching her apron with shaking hands. Her hair was completely white now, her back more bent than he remembered. "Please," she begged, her voice cracking. "Business has been slow. I just need 1 more week." "You said that last time." Another thug, this one with a snake tattoo on his face, shoved her backward. Rosa stumbled, catching herself on the doorframe. Something inside Leon snapped. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was the quiet, terrifying crack of a dam finally giving way after holding back an ocean for a decade. He moved. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. The thugs didn't notice him until he was 5 feet away. "Hey, old man." Snakeface turned, grinning. "This doesn't concern." Leon's fist collapsed his nose with a wet crunch. The world slowed down. Everything Leon had suppressed, every violent instinct, every predatory skill he'd honed before prison, flooded back like muscle memory. His body remembered what his mind had tried to forget. Snakeface dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The tall one lunged with a knife. "Stupid." Telegraphed. Leon sidestepped, caught the wrist, twisted until bone cracked, and drove his elbow into the thug's temple.
"Down. 2 left."
They rushed him together, finally realizing this wasn't some random old man. But Leon had fought in prison yards where men sharpened toothbrushes into shanks. He'd survived riots where guards turned off cameras and let inmates settle scores. These kids were playing dress-up in a world they didn't understand. Leon ducked under a wild swing, swept the legs from under one thug, and in the same motion, drove his knee into the falling man's face. The 4th one actually turned to run. Leon caught him by the collar, yanked him back, and slammed him face first into the store's brick wall.
Once. Twice.
The thug slid down, leaving a smear of blood on the bricks. 15 seconds. 4 men unconscious on the sidewalk. Leon stood over them, breathing steady, his knuckles barely scraped. Around him, neighbors who'd been pretending not to watch now stared openly. An old woman gasped. A shop owner dropped his broom. They recognized him.
Leon.
His mother's voice was barely a whisper. He turned, and for the first time in 10 years, Leon Moretti's face softened. Mama? Rosa's hands flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her weathered cheeks as she stumbled forward. Leon caught her, wrapping his arms around her fragile frame, and for a moment, he was just a son holding his mother. "You're home," she sobbed into his chest. "You're finally home." "I'm home," he whispered. But even as he held her, Leon's eyes swept the street. People were already pulling out phones. Whispers rippled through the crowd. This would spread fast. One of the thugs groaned, trying to crawl away. Leon released his mother gently and walked over. He placed his boot on the man's back, stopping him. The thug whimpered. "Who?" Leon's voice was soft, almost gentle. "Is Victor?" The thug's eyes went wide with terror. Not at Leon, but at the name.
You. You don't know what you just did, old man.
Mr. Victor runs everything. The Iron Fists. They'll come for you. They'll. Leon pressed down slightly with his boot. Let them come. He lifted his foot, and the thug scrambled away, limping desperately down the street. Leon turned back to his mother, who was staring at him with a mixture of relief, love, and something else.
Fear.
"Leon," she whispered, "what have you done?" He picked up a fallen orange, wiped it clean on his jacket, and handed it to her with a small smile. "I came home, Mama. That's all." But they both knew the truth. The Black Lion had returned. And someone had just made the worst mistake of their lives. Leon sat at his mother's small kitchen table, the same one he'd eaten breakfast at as a child. The wood was scarred and faded, but it still smelled faintly of lemon polish. Rosa moved around the cramped space, making tea with trembling hands. "You don't have to do that, Mama," Leon said quietly. "Let me," she insisted, her voice still shaky. "Let me do something normal." Normal? Leon almost laughed. Nothing about today was normal. He watched her pour the tea, noticing how thin she'd become, how the bruises on her arms weren't just from today's incident. This had been going on for a while. "Tell me about them," he said. "The Iron Fists." Rosa sat down heavily, wrapping her hands around her cup. "They came about 5 years ago. Started small, asking for protection money from a few stores. Then it spread. Now, they control everything from here to the waterfront. And the police." She laughed bitterly. "The police?" "Leon, half of them look the other way. The other half are probably on Victor's payroll." She took a sip of tea. "It's not like your time. These people, they're organized. Professional. They don't just run gambling and protection. They control the whole district." Leon's jaw tightened.
His time.
Everyone kept saying that like he was some relic, a fossil from a forgotten age. "How much do they take from you?" $500 a month. She wouldn't meet his eyes. "Sometimes more, if they're feeling greedy." 500. On her tiny store's income, that was everything. "Why didn't you tell me?" "What could you do from inside?" Rosa's voice cracked. "I didn't want you coming out and doing something stupid. I wanted you to be free, Leon. To start over. To be done with this life." He reached across and took her hand. "I am done, Mama. But first, I need to fix this." Fear flashed in her eyes.
No. No, Leon.
"You don't understand. Victor isn't like the old bosses. He's smart. Ruthless. People who cross him disappear. Just last month, Mr. Chin from the hardware store complained to the wrong person. They found him in the river." Leon said nothing. He simply squeezed her hand. After she went to bed, Leon stepped outside. The neighborhood was quiet, but not peaceful. It was the silence of fear, of people hiding behind locked doors. He walked. His feet carried him to familiar places, checking if the old world still existed. First stop, Sal's barbershop. The windows were dark, a closed sign hanging crooked on the door. Leon peered inside. Empty. Sal had been his first lieutenant, a man who could get information faster than anyone.
Gone.
Next, Marco's butcher shop. The storefront was still there, but now it sold cell phones. A young kid stood behind the counter, looking bored. "Where's Marco?" Leon asked. The kid barely looked up. "Who?" Leon left without answering. He tried 3 more places. Each one empty, sold, or operated by strangers who'd never heard the old names. It was like someone had erased his entire world while he was locked away. Finally, he found someone. Tommy Strings DeLuca, running a small record shop that somehow survived. Tommy had been a driver, reliable but not particularly ambitious. He was arranging vinyl records when Leon walked in. Tommy looked up and dropped the record he was holding. "Jesus Christ," he breathed. "Leon?" "Hello, Tommy." Tommy rushed to the door, locked it, and pulled down the shade. "Are you insane? Coming back here after what happened today? The whole district is talking about it." "Good. I want them talking." "You want?" Tommy stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "Leon, you put 4 iron fists in the hospital. Victor's going to hear about this by nightfall, if he hasn't already." "Let him hear." Tommy ran his hands through his thinning hair. "You've been gone too long, man. You don't know what you're dealing with."
Victor.
"He's not some street thug you can muscle out. He's connected. Really connected. People say he's got politicians, judges, cops. Everyone in his pocket." "Everyone can be reached," Leon said calmly. "Not him." Tommy lowered his voice. "Look, I loved working for you. We all did. But that world is over. Most of the old crew is dead in prison or retired. The ones still breathing learn to keep their heads down. That's how you survive now." Leon studied his old driver. Tommy had gotten soft, his belly stretching his shirt, his eyes carrying the defeated look of a man who'd given up. "I'm not asking you to fight," Leon said. "I'm asking for information. Who runs things for Victor on the street level? Where do they collect money? Who's loyal? Who's scared?" Tommy hesitated.
Why?
Leon's eyes went cold. "Because they touched my mother." Something flickered in Tommy's face, a ghost of the man he used to be. "There's a guy," Tommy said finally.
Marco Bellini.
"They call him Rat, runs a gambling den on 7th Street. He's Victor's collection officer for this district." Leon nodded. "Thank you, Tommy." "Leon," Tommy called as he reached the door. "Your era is over. Don't get yourself killed trying to prove otherwise." Leon smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "My era ended 10 years ago, Tommy. This is just pest control." He stepped into the night, and the Black Lion began to hunt. The warehouse stood at the edge of the industrial district, a skeleton of rusted metal and broken windows. Weeds pushed through cracks in the concrete, and graffiti-covered walls that had once been pristine white. Leon stood outside, staring at the building he hadn't seen in a decade. His kingdom. His fortress.
His past.
The padlock on the door was new, but cheap. Leon snapped it with a piece of rebar and pushed inside. The hinges screamed in protest, echoing through the cavernous space. Moonlight filtered through shattered skylights, casting silver patterns across the empty floor. Dust particles danced in the beams like ghosts. Everything was exactly as he'd left it. His desk sat in the corner office, still covered with a tarp that had turned gray with age. Leon pulled it off slowly, revealing the scarred wooden surface beneath. Papers had long since decayed into brittle, yellowed fragments. A coffee mug sat frozen in time, its contents evaporated into a dark stain. He ran his fingers along the desk's edge, finding the familiar groove where he used to tap his ring during tense negotiations. How many deals had been made here? How many lives decided with a nod or a shake of his head? Leon walked through the main floor, his footsteps echoing. There, the corner where his men used to play cards during downtime. There, the loading bay, where trucks arrived at midnight with cargo that was never questioned. There, the bloodstain on the concrete that no amount of bleach could fully erase. The night it all ended. He closed his eyes, and the memory crashed over him like a wave. October 15th, 10 years ago. His youngest soldier, barely 19, had gotten greedy. The kid took a side job without permission, killed a civilian by accident, and brought the full weight of the law down on their operation. The FBI had been circling for months, but that one stupid mistake gave them everything they needed. Leon had a choice: run and watch his entire crew go down, or take the fall himself. He chose the latter. Turned himself in, confessed to crimes he hadn't personally committed, and negotiated immunity for his men. The Black Lion fell on his sword, so his pride could survive. They'd promised to take care of his mother, to protect her, to make sure she wanted for nothing. Leon's hands clenched into fists. Liars. All of them. The moment he was behind bars, they scattered like roaches when the lights turn on. His empire dissolved within months. The men he'd protected forgot him before his first year was up. Only his mother remained loyal, visiting him every month, lying about how good things were on the outside. He should have known. Loyalty was a fairy tale men told themselves to sleep better at night. Leon climbed the metal stairs to his old office on the second floor. Each step groaned under his weight, rust flaking away. The office was smaller than he remembered, just a glass-enclosed space overlooking the warehouse floor. His chair was still there, leather-cracked and split. He sat down, and for a moment, he was the Black Lion again. Feared, respected, untouchable. Then he looked at his reflection in the dirty glass. An old man stared back. Gray hair, lines around his eyes, hands that shook slightly from a decade of suppressing who he really was. "You're nobody now," the reflection seemed to say. "Just another ex-con trying to relive past glory." Leon opened the desk drawer. Inside, miraculously untouched, was a leather sheath containing a knife. He pulled it out slowly. The blade was dull with age, but still solid. Italian steel, a gift from his mentor before the old man died. He tested the edge against his thumb, barely sharp enough to cut paper. From his pocket, Leon pulled out a whetstone he'd bought on the walk here. The rhythmic scrape of steel on stone filled the quiet warehouse. SHHHG, SHHHG, SHHHG. It was meditative, calming, like a prayer. With each stroke, his mind cleared. He didn't want this. Didn't want to step back into the darkness he'd worked so hard to leave behind. Prison had given him time to think, to realize that the life he'd led was empty. Power was an addiction that consumed everything it touched. He'd planned to come home, hug his mother, and disappear. Maybe move to the countryside. Find honest work. Die quietly in his sleep instead of bleeding out in some alley. That dream died the moment he saw his mother's bruised hands. SHHHG, SHHHG, SHHHG. The blade grew sharper. Leon tested it against a piece of paper from the desk. It sliced through cleanly, silently.
Perfect.
He stood, slipping the knife into his jacket. The warehouse felt different now, not like a tomb, but like a weapons cache. Everything he needed was here. The knowledge, the instincts, the cold calculation that had made him a legend. For her, Leon whispered to the empty space. "Just this once. Then I'm done." He walked toward the exit, leaving the office door open behind him. No need to close it. He wouldn't be coming back here again. The Black Lion had one last hunt. Then the lion would finally rest. But first, blood. The gambling den on 7th Street didn't look like much from the outside. Just a laundromat with flickering neon signs advertising 24-hour service, but Leon knew better. He'd run places like this himself once. The real business happened in the back. It was nearly midnight when Leon approached. 2 guards stood outside the rear entrance, smoking cigarettes and laughing about something on one of their phones.
Young.
Confident.
Sloppy.
Leon moved through the alley shadows like smoke. The first guard didn't even see him coming. Leon's hand clamped over his mouth while the knife pressed against his throat. Not cutting, just promising. Sleep, Leon whispered. He applied pressure to the carotid artery, and the guard slumped unconscious in his arms. Leon lowered him silently to the ground. The second guard finally looked up from his phone. Hey, Vic, you see where? Leon's fist caught him in the solar plexus. The guard doubled over, gasping, and Leon put him to sleep the same way. Both men lay peacefully in the alley, breathing steadily.
No killing.
Not yet. Leon wasn't that person anymore, unless he absolutely had to be. He tried the door.
Locked.
He studied the frame, found the weak point, and kicked once. The wood splintered with a crack that sounded like a gunshot in the quiet night. Inside, the gambling den was exactly what he expected. Card tables, a roulette wheel, the stink of cigars and desperation. About 20 people were scattered throughout, players, dealers, and 4 guards positioned at strategic points. Everyone turned to look at the door. Leon walked in like he owned the place. We're closed, one guard called out, reaching for his waistband. I'm looking for Rat, Leon said calmly. The room went silent. Players suddenly found their cards very interesting. Dealers froze mid-shuffle. A voice came from the back office. Who the hell is asking? Marco Rat Bellini emerged, a wiry man in his 30s with slicked-back hair and a gold tooth that caught the light. He wore an expensive suit that didn't quite fit his frame, like a kid playing dress-up in his father's clothes. Recognition flashed across his face. Wait, you're the old man from today. The one who, his eyes widened. Boys, we got a problem. The 4 guards moved simultaneously, pulling weapons. Leon was faster. He grabbed the nearest card table and flipped it, sending chips and cards flying. As the first guard fired, Leon was already moving, using the chaos as cover. The bullet punched through the overturned table, but missed him by inches. Leon closed the distance to the shooter in 3 strides. He trapped the gun hand, twisted, and the weapon clattered to the floor. A sharp elbow to the temple, and the guard dropped. The second guard rushed him with a bat. Leon ducked under the swing, came up inside the guard's reach, and drove his knee into the man's gut. As the guard bent forward, Leon brought his elbow down on the back of his neck.
Down. 2 left.
They were smarter hanging back, trying to get clear shots. But the panicked gamblers were scrambling for the exit, creating a human shield of chaos. Leon used it, weaving through the crowd, always moving, never where they expected. He grabbed a heavy ashtray from a table and hurled it at one guard's face. The man's nose exploded in red, and he stumbled backward, firing wildly. Bullets tore through the ceiling, raining plaster down on everyone. Leon was on him before he could recover, disarming him with practiced efficiency and putting him down with a chokehold. The last guard had finally gotten a clear shot. His gun was aimed, steady, professional. Don't move, old man. Leon raised his hands slowly. Smart boy. Then he noticed what the guard hadn't. Rat was already running, disappearing through a back exit. Leon smiled. Wrong priority, kid. He dove sideways as the guard fired, rolled behind the bar, and came up with a bottle of whiskey. He threw it hard. The bottle shattered against the guard's gun hand, and the weapon went flying. Leon vaulted the bar, closed the distance, and put the final guard to sleep with a precise strike. The entire fight had lasted 45 seconds. Leon stepped over the unconscious bodies and walked calmly through the back exit. The alley behind was narrow, cluttered with dumpsters. He heard rapid footsteps and labored breathing. Rat wasn't very fast. Leon caught him at the alley's end, grabbing his collar and slamming him against the brick wall. Please.
Rat gaspet.
I got money. Whatever you want. Leon pulled out his knife. The blade gleamed in the streetlight. I want information, he said quietly. And you're going to give it to me. Rat's eyes locked onto the knife, and all the color drained from his face. Let's talk about Victor, Leon continued, his voice soft and terrible. Tell me everything. Lie to me once, and I'll know. Understand? Rat nodded frantically, sweat pouring down his face. "Good," Leon said. "Now talk." The interrogation lasted 20 minutes. When Leon finally walked away, Rat was alive but shaking uncontrollably, curled up on the ground, whimpering Victor's name like a prayer. Leon had what he needed. The Iron Fists operated in 3 tiers: street collectors like Rat, district commanders who oversaw territories, and Victor himself, who remained a ghost at the top. But ghosts could be hunted. Leon disappeared into the night, leaving chaos in his wake. The message was sent. Leon woke to 3 missed calls on the burner phone he'd bought yesterday, all from numbers he didn't recognize. But when he checked the voicemails, he recognized the voices immediately.
"Boss.
"It's Frankie. Heard you were back. If you need anything at all, you know where to find me." "Leon, it's Maria Constanza. My cousin saw what you did at the gambling den. The neighborhood's talking. Call me." "Mr. Moretti, this is James Chen. You knew my father. I heard the lion returned. I want to help." Leon sat on the edge of his bed in the cheap motel room, staring at the phone. He hadn't reached out to anyone, hadn't asked for help. But word traveled fast in this world, and apparently, the old loyalty ran deeper than he'd thought. Or maybe they just smelled blood in the water and wanted to swim with a shark again. His mother's voice echoed in his mind. Start over. Be done with this life. But could he do this alone? Victor had an army, resources,
Money.
Leon had a knife and 10-year-old skills. He made the first call. Frankie Knuckles Moreno looked exactly like his nickname suggested, a brick wall of a man with hands that could crush bowling balls. He met Leon at a construction site Frankie now managed, away from prying eyes. "You look old, boss," Frankie grinned, pulling Leon into a bear hug. "You look fat," Leon replied, but he was smiling. Frankie laughed, patting his considerable belly. "Married life. 3 kids. Wife cooks too good." His expression turned serious. "I heard what happened to Rosa. That's not right. Nobody touches family." "I'm not rebuilding, Frankie," Leon said carefully. "I just need to handle this situation. Then I'm gone." "I know," Frankie nodded. "But you need eyes and ears, right? I still run a crew here, legitimate construction, I swear. But my guys hear things. See things. What if they heard about the Iron Fist?" Frankie pulled out his phone, showing Leon a map with marked locations. "They collect from every business in 6 districts. Tuesdays and Fridays, like clockwork. They've got 3 main warehouses where they store product, drugs, stolen goods, you name it. And Victor," he paused. "Nobody's actually seen him in person. He runs everything through his lieutenants." Leon studied the map. "Who are the lieutenants?" 3 main ones. Dmitry Volkov handles the muscle, ex-military Russian mob connections. Carla Santos runs the money laundering through her nightclubs. And Marcus Webb, he's the enforcer, the one who makes examples out of people who don't pay. Which one would come after me first? Frankie's expression darkened. Marcus. After what you did to Rat and the gambling den. He's probably already hunting you. Leon met with 4 more of his old crew throughout the day. Each meeting was brief, careful, in locations that couldn't be traced. Maria Constanza, who now ran a taxi company, offered her drivers as mobile scouts. James Chen, a cybersecurity consultant, could hack into the city's traffic cameras. Danny Numbers Rossi, working as an accountant, knew how to trace money flows. None of them asked to rejoin the life. They had families now, legitimate businesses, futures that didn't end in prison or graves. But they all remembered who Leon had been, the boss who'd taken the fall to protect them. Debts had to be repaid. By nightfall, Leon had something he hadn't expected, a network. Not an army, but eyes and ears throughout the city. Information flowed to him like water finding cracks. And the information was troubling. Victor's reach was even bigger than he'd thought. City councilmen, police captains, judges, all of them connected to the Iron Fists through a web of bribes and blackmail. Taking down Victor wouldn't just be about force. It would require dismantling an entire corrupt system. Leon was considering his next move when his phone rang. Unknown number. Yes. Heavy breathing. Then a familiar voice. Tommy Strings, but terrified. Leon. They know. They know you've been meeting people. Victor sent. Gunshots exploded through the phone. Tommy screamed. The line went dead. Leon was already moving, grabbing his jacket and knife. Tommy's record shop was 15 minutes away. He made it in 8, running red lights, his stolen motorcycle screaming through the streets. The shop was dark. The door hung open, glass shattered across the sidewalk. Leon entered, knife ready. Tommy lay behind the counter, bleeding from his shoulder but alive. 3 bodies surrounded him. Victor's men, dead, their throats cut. But Tommy wasn't alone. Standing over him, cleaning blood from a straight razor, was a woman Leon hadn't seen in 10 years. His sister. Sophia Moretti smiled, her dark eyes gleaming. Hello, brother. Miss me? Leon stared. You're supposed to be in Europe. She folded the razor carefully. Then I heard someone was stupid enough to start a war with Victor. Figured you might need help. Behind her, 5 more figures emerged from the shadows. Men and women Leon recognized. His old inner circle. The ones he thought had abandoned him. Surprise, Sophia said. The pride never really left. We were just waiting for the lion to roar again. Leon looked at his sister, at his old crew, at the bodies on the floor. He'd wanted to do this alone.
To keep them safe.
But the war had already begun. And Victor had just made his first mistake. He'd attacked the pride. Leon should have known better. He'd sent his mother to stay with Father Dominic at the church, thinking it was safe. Sacred ground. Even animals like Victor had to respect some boundaries. He was wrong. The call came at 2:47 a.m. Leon, Father Dominic's voice cracked with panic. You need to come.
Now.
It's your mother. Leon's blood turned to ice. What happened? Just come. Please. He broke every traffic law getting there. Sophia riding behind him on the motorcycle, her arms tight around his waist. The church stood on a hill overlooking the old district, its white steeple usually visible for miles. Tonight, orange flames licked at the sky. Not the church, the rectory beside it, where his mother had been sleeping. Leon abandoned the motorcycle while it was still moving, sprinting toward the building. Firefighters were already there, hoses trained on the blaze, but the structure was engulfed. Heat pushed against him like a physical wall. Mama, he roared. Leon. Father Dominic grabbed his arm, holding him back with surprising strength for an old priest. She's alive. She's alive. Relief flooded through him so intensely his knees almost buckled. Where? Ambulance. But Leon. He was already running. The ambulance sat at the edge of the parking lot, its lights painting everything red and blue. Leon yanked open the rear door. His mother lay on the stretcher, an oxygen mask over her face, her nightgown charred and torn. But her eyes were open, and when she saw him, tears streamed down her soot-stained cheeks. Mama, Leon climbed in, taking her hand gently. It was ice-cold despite the heat outside. She pulled the oxygen mask down. They came for me, she whispered. 2 men. They poured gasoline. Father Dominic heard the smoke alarm and got me out just in time. Don't talk. Save your strength. No. Her grip tightened with surprising force. Leon, they left a message. They said Victor knows about Sophia. About everyone helping you. And if you don't back down, she couldn't finish, dissolving into coughs. Leon's vision tunneled. The world became very simple, very clear. Sophia appeared at his shoulder. Leon, we need to move her. Somewhere Victor can't reach. There is nowhere, Leon said quietly. He has the whole city mapped. Police, hospitals, churches. He owns everything. Then we leave the city. No, Leon stood. And when he turned to face his sister, she actually stepped back. His eyes had gone completely flat, devoid of anything human. I'm done running. done hiding. Brother. Look at her. Leon pointed at their mother. She's 70 years old. She should be worrying about her garden, not burning alive because some punk wants to prove a point. An EMT tried to intervene. Sir, you need to. Leon's glare made him stop mid-sentence. Sophia waited until the EMT retreated, then spoke quietly. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Victor made a mistake. Leon watched the flames consume the rectory. He went after her directly. That means he's scared. Scared people make mistakes. Or it means he's sending a message. Back down, or everyone you love dies. Then I'll send a message back. Leon turned to Father Dominic, who'd been hovering nearby. Father, I need your help. One last time. The old priest sighed. Leon, I've been praying for 10 years that you'd leave this life behind. I had. But this life won't leave me. He gestured to his mother. Will you keep her safe? There's a monastery upstate, St. Augustine's. The abbot owes me a favor from the old days. Father Dominic nodded slowly. I'll take her myself. Tonight. Thank you. Leon looked back at the burning building. His childhood memories were in there. Photos, letters, the quilt his grandmother had made. All ash now. Sophia touched his arm. What's the plan? We go to war. Leon's voice was utterly calm. Victor wants to hide behind walls and soldiers and politicians?
Fine.
But every empire has a foundation. We're going to crack it until the whole thing comes down. That'll take time we might not have. No, Leon pulled out his phone, scrolling through the information his network had gathered. We hit 3 targets simultaneously: Dimitri's weapons cache, Carla's main nightclub where she keeps the books, and Marcus's enforcement crew. All tonight. All at once. We make Victor understand that he's not untouchable. Sophia smiled, and it was a predator's smile. Now you sound like the Black Lion I remember. I'm not. Leon watched the ambulance pull away with his mother inside, Father Dominic riding along. The Black Lion built an empire. I'm just here to burn one down. He turned to his sister, and for the first time since returning, he let the full weight of his rage show. Call everyone. We move in 2 hours. And Victor? Leon's smile was cold enough to freeze blood. Victor gets to watch his world collapse. Then I'm coming for him personally. The fire reflected in his eyes, and Sophia saw something that made even her, a woman who'd killed men without hesitation, feel a chill. Her brother wasn't planning to defeat Victor. He was planning to erase him. 3 strikes. Simultaneous. Surgical. At precisely 3 a.m., Leon's network moved. Frankie's construction crew hid Dimitri's warehouse on the docks, cutting power and using heavy machinery to barricade the exits before calling in an anonymous tip to the one honest cop precinct in the city. Dimitri's men were trapped inside with enough illegal weapons to put them away for decades. Maria's taxi drivers swarmed Carla's nightclub, each cab carrying drunk passengers who were actually James Chen's tech people. Within minutes, they'd cloned every hard drive in Carla's office, financial records, blackmail files, everything. The evidence was already uploading to secure servers before Carla even knew she'd been hit. Danny Numbers had done something more elegant. He'd simply leaked Carla's real accounting books to the IRS, complete with names, dates, and bank accounts. By morning, federal agents would be kicking down doors. But Leon wasn't with any of them. He had a different target. Victor's fortress sat in the hills outside the city, a modern mansion surrounded by high walls, cameras, and armed guards. It looked impenetrable. Leon studied it from the treeline, Sophia beside him. 20 guards minimum, she whispered. Rotating patrols. Motion sensors. This is suicide, brother. For anyone else, Leon checked his knife. He'd acquired other tools for tonight, a silenced pistol, smoke grenades, wire cutters, but the knife felt right in his hand. Personal. You don't have to come. Shut up, Sophia checked her own weapons. I didn't fly back from Milan just to watch you die alone. Leon smiled despite everything. Like old times. Like old times. They moved at 3:30 a.m., when human attention was at its lowest. Leon cut through the fence at a blind spot James had identified in the camera coverage. They slipped through like ghosts. The first patrol never saw them coming. 2 guards, walking their route, talking about a football game. Sophia took one. Leon took the other. Both men dropped silently, unconscious before they hit the ground. Leon and Sophia dragged them into the bushes and kept moving. The mansion's rear entrance was guarded by 3 more men. Leon tossed a smoke grenade, and chaos erupted. The guards stumbled into the white cloud, coughing, disoriented. Leon and Sophia were through them in seconds, leaving 3 more unconscious bodies behind. Inside, the mansion was obscenely luxurious. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, art that probably cost more than Leon's mother's store was worth. All of it bought with blood and fear. Alarms started screaming. They'd been detected. "Go loud," Leon said, and pulled out his pistol. What followed wasn't a fight. It was an execution of military precision. Leon and Sophia had fought together for years before his arrest. They moved like parts of a single organism, covering angles, communicating with glances. Guards poured out of rooms. Leon and Sophia put them down with controlled bursts. Not killing, Leon aimed for legs, shoulders, anywhere that would drop them without ending them. He wasn't a murderer. Not unless he had to be. They fought through the first floor, then the second. Bodies littered the hallways, alive, breathing, but no longer a threat. Finally, they reached the top floor. A single set of ornate double doors stood at the end of the hall. Victor's office. Leon kicked them open. The room was empty except for one man standing by the window, looking out at the city lights. He was younger than Leon expected, mid-30s, handsome, wearing a silk robe like he'd been woken from sleep. But his eyes were old, calculating, cold. "The Black Lion," Victor said, turning slowly. "I was beginning to think you were a myth. Where are your guards?" Sophia asked, weapon raised.
Victor smiled.
"Do I need them? Look around, Mr. Moretti. You've destroyed 3 of my operations tonight. Very clever. Very dramatic." He walked to his desk, poured himself a drink. "But you've accomplished nothing." "You burned my mother's home," Leon said quietly. "I sent a message." Victor sipped his whiskey. "You didn't listen. That's disappointing." Leon raised his pistol. "It's over, Victor. The evidence is already with federal authorities. Your network is collapsing as we speak. You're done." Victor laughed. "Am I? You think I don't have contingencies? Backups? By tomorrow, I'll have new operations running. The evidence will disappear. Witnesses will recant or vanish." He set down his glass. "You can't kill an idea, Moretti. I'm not a person. I'm a system. Then I'll break the system." "You can't, because systems are built by powerful people, and you," Victor's smile widened. "You're just an old man playing dress-up in his glory days." Something changed in Leon's expression. His finger tightened on the trigger. Then Sophia grabbed his arm. "Wait." She was looking at Victor's desk, at a photograph sitting there. Leon saw it too and froze. The photograph showed Victor shaking hands with someone at a formal event. Someone Leon recognized immediately. Father Dominic.
"No," Leon whispered.
Victor's smile became a grin. "Did you really think I'd let you hide your mother in some monastery? I know exactly where she is, Moretti. I've known since the moment Father Dominic drove her out of the city." Leon's world tilted. "He's been working for me for 3 years, Victor continued. "How do you think I always knew where to strike? Who to pressure?" He pulled out his phone. "One call, and your mother dies. So here's what's going to happen." Leon shot him. The bullet took Victor in the shoulder, spinning him around. He crashed into his desk, screaming. "Wrong answer," Leon said and pulled the trigger again. The bullet never fired. Leon's finger froze on the trigger as Victor's scream turned into laughter, wet, pained, but triumphant. "Do it," Victor gasped, clutching his bleeding shoulder. "Pull the trigger. Prove you're still the monster everyone feared." Blood seeped between his fingers. "But the moment I die, 5 different people get automated messages. Your mother dies within the hour. Your sister. Everyone who helped you, he coughed, spraying red across his expensive desk. That's the difference between us, Moretti. You're a dinosaur. I'm the future. Sophia aimed at Victor's head. He's bluffing. Am I? Victor pulled out his phone with his good hand, showing them a screen with a timer counting down. Dead man's switch. I check in every 6 hours. Miss one check-in, and he smiled through bloody teeth.
Boom.
Leon lowered his gun slowly. Every instinct screamed to end this man, to paint the walls with his blood. But Victor was right about one thing. He'd evolved past the old ways. Kill him, and the revenge would be automatic. So what now? Leon asked quietly. Mexican standoff forever? Now you walk away. Victor managed to sit up, still bleeding but alive. Take your mother and disappear. I'll even let you live, as a professional courtesy. One old predator to another. Leon stared at him for a long moment. Then he started laughing. It wasn't a happy sound. It was the laugh of a man who'd finally understood the punchline of a cruel joke. What's funny?
Victor demanded.
You, Leon said. You actually think you're in control. He pulled out his own phone and played a recording. Victor's voice filled the room. Father Dominic has been working for me for 3 years. How do you think I always knew where to strike? Victor's face went pale. That call you're worried about missing? Leon continued. Already made. 3 minutes ago while you were monologuing. I had James Chin clone your phone's signal the moment we walked into this room. He showed Victor a different screen, police cars, federal vehicles, all converging on the mansion. Your automated messages? Intercepted. Your backup systems?
Shut down.
Your corrupt cops? Currently being arrested alongside your men. Victor tried to stand, stumbled. You're lying. Am I? Sophia smiled. You're right about one thing. Systems are powerful, but they're also fragile. One good push in the right place, she snapped her fingers. Collapse. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Victor looked between them, realization dawning. The 3 simultaneous strikes. They weren't just attacks. They were bait, Leon finished. While you were focused on 3 locations, you missed the real target. We copied everything tonight. Your servers, your files, your communications. Every dirty cop, every bribed official, every victim you've silenced. All of it goes to the FBI field office in exactly, he checked his watch, 2 minutes. The office you don't control. Victor lunged for his desk drawer. Sophia shot the drawer, splintering wood. A gun clattered to the floor. It's over, Leon said simply. The mansion doors burst open downstairs. Heavy boots thundered on marble floors. Federal agents, not local cops. Leon and Sophia moved toward the window. Leon paused at the door, looking back at Victor, bleeding, broken, terrified. My mother?
Leon asked.
Victor said nothing, but his eyes betrayed him. The fear was real. Father Dominic was never corrupted, Leon said quietly. I've known him 40 years. He helped us set this trap, he smiled coldly. My mother's safe, Victor. She was never where you thought she was. Just another lie you bought, because you're so used to winning. Federal agents crashed into the room, weapons drawn. Leon and Sophia were already gone, vanished through a service corridor they'd mapped earlier. 3 days later. The morning sun painted the park in gold and amber. Leon sat on a bench, watching pigeons fight over breadcrumbs. His mother sat beside him, a blanket across her lap despite the warm weather. Is it really over? Rosa asked softly. Leon nodded. Victor's in federal custody. His entire network collapsed. The district attorney found evidence on 36 corrupt officials. They're calling it the biggest organized crime bust in city history. And you. I don't exist in any of those files. Neither does Sophia or anyone who helped. He'd made sure of that. The evidence pointed everywhere except at him. To the authorities, Victor's empire just imploded from internal pressure. Rosa took his hand. What will you do now? Leon pulled an envelope from his jacket. Inside was a deed, A small store in a quiet neighborhood 2 states away. Far from the old district. Far from the memories. I bought you a new place. Fresh start. No one knows you there. And you. He smiled. I'm coming with you. If you'll have me. Tears welled in her eyes. Leon. I mean it, Mama. I'm done. Really done this time. He looked at the sunrise. I kept my promise. I protected you. Now, I just want to be your son again. Not the Black Lion.
Just.
Leon. Rosa pulled him into a hug, crying into his shoulder. Across the park, Sophia watched from a distance. She caught Leon's eye and nodded once, a warrior salute. Then she turned and walked away, disappearing into the city that was already forgetting the legend that had saved it. Leon held his mother as the sun climbed higher. The Black Lion's roar had echoed one final time. Now, at last, he could rest. The war was over. He'd won by losing himself, by becoming something more than the monster he'd been. He'd become human again. And that was worth more than any empire.